This is Boxes and Briefs, a podcast with real-life business stories. But we will be asking the hard questions and challenging traditions. So broaden your thinking with fresh perspectives and solve problems for business success. Welcome to the final episode of Boxes and Briefs. My name's Lisa.
I'm Kelly.
And today with us we have co-founder of Gilligan Sheppard, Bruce.
It is, or Brucer.
Brucer. I thought it was Boos.
No. I swapped someone's initial with an E at the end and it was an A, so she did the same to me.
So say it what it is. Brucer. Okay, so for those who don't know, co-founder of Gilligan Sheppard, founder of the New Zealand Shareholders Association, over 25 years experience advising businesses on everything from tax stuff to capital management. Oh, what's the
there's a
finger?
finger.
What?
Time flies.
Oh, is it more than that now?
It's 40.
You old. So, Bruce, we gave you the option of talk whatever you want to talk about.
You did.
And you decided to choose I can't even say it. Community curiosity.
I did.
All about taking risk, all about collaboration, stuff that you're not seeing businesses do enough of, I gather.
Correct.
Yes. All right. So, why should businesses be curious? How does it drive their growth?
If you aren't curious, you don't innovate, you don't think, you don't observe, you don't become aware. In short, risks catch up on you and opportunities fly away from you. You should look at everything, think about everything, and work out how to apply it.
Great
Or not.
words. Give me an example. Like, tell me a story where curiosity helped a company.
Okay, let's do GS as a good example.
Okay. I like that you're proud of your own company. That's good. Carry on.
So 25 years ago, we had a team member who wanted to work from home when it wasn't possible to do so without courier packs and paper.
This is before COVID, obviously.
Long before
Well,
COVID.
before working from home was norm.
Yes, well, we had people working from home, but they carried boxes home and boxes back, right? So Greg said there must be a solution to this. They clearly transmit data, because they were at that time, over telephone lines. We must be able to find a way. So he was curious and he solved the problem so that via our terminal server, he could have our person in Te Atatu downloading data in a very chunky way and sending it back. It was chunky, but it started. So that solved a personal problem because there was curiosity to solve the problem.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd still just call that problem solving.
Would you?
Yeah.
Okay.
But who would take that effort to problem solve though? Because maybe some companies...
Well, somebody who thinks outside of the box.
So
for
then,
sure.
having solved the problem,
Yeah.
then you say, well, heavens, margins are being squeezed, another problem. How will we solve that? Do we hire a lot of plebs in New Zealand or do we hire a lot of people in India where the cost of labour is lower? If we can send data from Queen Street to Te Atatu, why can't we send it to New Delhi?
Oh, that sounds more curious. Yeah.
Let's go find out how we could start an Indian office. And we did that 25 years ago as well.
That's got to be one of the first.
It was the first.
And there you go.
Look at that.
Industry leading.
Or a person walks in off the street and says, have I got a deal for you? Cynicism goes in. What's your deal? If I could insure you against tax audits, how would you feel about that? Wow. How would you do that? They were a company in Australia that was offering insurance to accountants to protect their clients from Inland Revenue audit costs.
Oh, that makes sense.
And we thought, that sounds interesting. How can we collaborate with you to make that a reality? How about we be your beta site?
Okay.
And we were the first to have accountancy insurance in New Zealand.
What a first.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. Or
So
because
that's-
you're curious, because obviously you were leading.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's another example of curiosity?
What about collaboration?
Collaboration comes from a base where you say you have one pair of hands, you can only do so much, other people are good at different things. You can only really collaborate if you understand what you're good at, what you're not good at, and you're prepared to trust. If you're not prepared to trust, you can't collaborate because you will always see everyone as a threat.
Yeah, competitive
Right.
versus collaboration.
Correct. So trust underpins collaboration. Okay. So if you're fearful of others, you will always be defending. If you're trustful of others, you build an army to attack big problems or big opportunities.
Yeah, yeah. I get
The
that.
issue is, how do you share it? Well, that's just a negotiation.
Yeah.
So the other biggie is what?
Is what?
Is what?
Trust, collaboration.
If you're going to share, you've got to be fair.
Okay.
And you've got to be selfless. And then the other side's selfless, and then everyone finds their way to a middle that works for everyone.
Yeah. I think that's your negotiation tactics as well, isn't it?
Usually.
Yeah. Okay. So there's often tension when you're trying to build community and protect your competitive advantage. So there is a balance. You know, you can't give everything away. So how do you find that balance? Is it just by having deep and meaningful chats?
So give away things, right? You think you're really, 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 really special.
No.
And you really, 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 really think that you've got a competitive advantage.
Probably not.
The reality is there's 8 or 10 billion people out there. There's got to be another one of you.
Oh, I don't know if I like that statement.
In fact, there's probably a few million of them.
Yeah, but there'll all be something a little different. Nobody's exactly the
but
same.
that's your competitive advantage.
Yes.
Isn't around necessarily your systems and processes that you wish to protect and keep secret. It's not any of that. It is how you do it based on your emotional quotient and how you engage with people. The end competitive advantage is always unique to yourself in terms of how you deliver.
Yeah.
Right? You then aggregate people. Okay, so you bring a group of people together. They're glued together by their purpose, back to what we talked about at the beginning. But they're also glued together by how they choose to behave, right?
Yes, commonalities.
Commonalities.
Values.
Yeah, all of that.
Yeah.
So you can have a unique-ish way of doing things that other people struggle to do because it isn't intuitive to them, it isn't who they are. And if they try to copy you, they will be fake. And if they are fake, they will be unhappy and eventually they will fall off the perch, right? So the key competitive advantage that you actually have is your own authentic self and how you bring it to collaborating, right?
I get
No
that.
one else can copy that.
The only question I have is around timeline then. Because sometimes being first to market with your idea or solution or whatever it is the competitive advantage.
Yes, it can be. First mover advantage is useful,
Yes.
provided you have the resources to double down on it quickly,
Yeah.
right?
And if you don't, then collaboration could...
So then the close follower with a truckload of cash will beat you every time,
Yeah.
okay? How do they not beat you?
Not sure.
Okay, so you have your first mover advantage. You
Yes.
did it in your own way.
Yes.
Okay? You might have developed. Take Board Pro, for example.
Just quickly tell us what Board Pro is.
Board Pro is board management software.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
They were not the first mover in that market. Diligent was.
Okay.
Okay. Diligent did it 20 years ago. Board Pro started their business 10 years ago.
Okay. So Diligent was first.
Diligent was first and very successful, and still is pretty successful.
Okay.
Board Pro is also successful. They just did it a little differently, right?
Okay.
So they thought of a couple of key advantages over Diligent, using the same basic concept, which is, why do people find this process painful? How do small businesses that have had no experience to governance processes actually understand why it's important, and how do we help them make it work?
Mm-hmm.
So they combined content generation, precedence, simple, elegant processes, and also put everyone's boards, if you had multiple boards, on one login.
Okay.
Okay?
So you solved a few more problems.
So instead of making it organisational centric, they made it human centric.
Nice.
And they enabled the humans to engage through giving them precedence.
Yep.
So that was just a packaging exercise. But they came second, and they now have more customers than Diligent.
How does that go to collaboration? Or curiosity?
Curiosity, they were curious to solve a problem, right?
Okay.
Why can best practices that have enabled scale businesses not be replicated effectively by smaller businesses? A, it's unaffordable, because it was. Diligence 5 times the price or more. Secondly, they don't understand. 3, it's hard to use, and it's hard to scale across multiple enterprises, and people get frustrated.
So basically, a bunch of people got curious as to how can we solve these problems and do better than what's already out there. Okay. They collaborated as well, obviously, to come up with all of those solutions.
So you had to build a team of people that were prepared to collaborate.
Okay, so there is a balance between competitive advantage. Theirs was solving other problems, but it was collaboration on the side of competitive advantage.
It was collaboration between people that had unique skills, which
Yeah.
were their unique competitive advantage, who also understood that they weren't totally unique, but they had a way of doing things that worked. They enjoyed each other and came together.
Okay, now I have to ask about the T-shirt.
Yes.
Disgruntled Employee of the Month.
Yes, go on.
Are you even an employee?
Everyone's an employee. I get paid a salary. Of course I'm an employee.
And why are you disgruntled?
Well,
You got a free T-shirt.
that's why I'm wearing it. And it's actually quite soft and nice, and it's
Oh,
slightly
no.
warm so that the air that's coming on my back doesn't annoy me. And if I had my normal shirt on, I'd be annoyed by the cool air on my back, and then I would be disgruntled, so I just cut to the chase.
Oh, Bruce. Brucer, sorry. All right. How do you know when a collaborative opportunity is worth the risk?
You don't,
So when do you know to take
Because it's risk, yeah.
because it's risk. You don't.
But there's calculated risk.
So how do you take risk is the better question, right? Because collaboration is a risk.
It is, yeah. They
At the
could
very
take
least,
all of your ideas and go do it themselves.
well, if they do, that's fine. You've changed the world. Someone did it better than you. Great. Right? Why do you care?
Okay, you're holding on to things loosely now.
Right.
Okay.
So it doesn't really matter who does it, so long as it gets done if it's a good idea. There's plenty for everyone.
I'm sure many business people and entrepreneurs are going, no, but I want to make money from this.
Correct. Okay, so when you collaborate, you need to know why you're collaborating.
Okay.
Okay. So there will be a rational quotient and there will be an emotional quotient.
Yes.
And there's also the curious quotient. Right?
Okay.
You meet someone new. You don't know who they are. You don't have any idea what their ideas or thinking might be.
But there'll be something you like.
And you'll have a conversation.
Yeah.
And that conversation will spark your curiosity. And then you'll say, how do I want to deal with that? Do I want to deal with it on my own? Do I want to deal with it with them? Why do I want to do it? Am I doing it because it's playful and it will be fun, emotional? Am I doing it because it solves a problem or creates an opportunity? Do I need the opportunity? Right. Well, no, I've got plenty of opportunities, so I don't particularly need that one. So you rate it and discard it. Or you'll say, I've got a problem. Is the problem something I need to solve? Not really, so I won't bother. Is the problem something I want to solve because it's annoying me? Then you might embrace it. But you will never know what's out there unless you talk to people. You just never will.
True.
Boxes and Briefs is proudly brought to you by Gilligan Sheppard, the problem solvers in business.
Right, Bruce. Brucer. When you are trying to build an authentic business relationship, there is an element of authenticity. You have to be vulnerable, right?
You have to be real.
Real.
And to be real, you have strengths and weaknesses. And if you only play one song sheet, people will look at you and say, is that person made out of concrete? And of course you're human, you're biological matter. Of course you're vulnerable. And if you don't occasionally wear it, you're not real.
So who makes the first move? Who lets down the first wall? How do you start that?
It doesn't really matter who does it, right? If you think about vulnerability and self-confidence, right? If you're self-confident, you're okay being vulnerable, right? Because you can just shrug.
I'd still say it's a calculation of who you're vulnerable with.
Okay, so now we go back to who you're vulnerable with, right? Vulnerabilities enable people to know you.
Yes.
Right, so if they know you, they can trust you. If there
Eventually.
is something hidden or doesn't quite feel right, if you're always on 100% of your game,
The wall will go up.
the wall will go up, right?
Okay.
So who are you vulnerable to? Couple of points. Again, it's a judgment call. You'll be vulnerable to people who matter to you.
Yes, that one's easy.
If they don't matter to you, why fucking bother?
For the risk.
Well, you could
For
do
the
it.
collaboration.
Well, you could for the collaboration, or you could just for the sport or the entertainment.
Now there's an
right?
angle.
Yeah.
Hold on. Why would you do that? The sport
Humans-
of being vulnerable.
Well, it's amusing to see how people react to it.
It does immediately give you an idea about that person, doesn't it? How they respond to your vulnerability.
It gives you an idea of who they are and just
Yeah.
can kind
Are they
of help
gonna-
you gauge, is this someone I want to collaborate
Yeah.
with? And then
Do they mock you? Do they like take a step back?
Sometimes.
do they match
Yeah.
your energy?
Mostly humans care about other humans.
So
Mostly.
they get vulnerable too?
No,
Usually?
they will normally empathise depending on what the vulnerability is, usually. Sometimes they will do an exchange, right?
Yeah, well, actually, I learnt a little bit about that. Apparently, if you're neurodivergent, any of the ADHDs, dyslexias, any of those,
Everyone's those things.
if you are,
It's a spectrum for a reason.
if you're on the other end of the spectrum, then the way that you respond to vulnerability can often be to share your own because you're saying, I understand and this is how I'm relating to it.
Sometimes sharing is empathising, yes.
Yes. Whereas on the other end, you'll have people who will go, they're just really good listeners. They don't need to tell their own story to make you feel heard. And there's kind of the two ends.
And they both work and you work out who people are.
Yeah.
Okay. So vulnerability makes you human because no one's invincible. If you pretend you're invincible, you're a pretender. If you live your life pretending you will be unhappy, just be yourself, and part of yourself is all of your foibles, all of your vulnerabilities.
You're a very no bullshit person.
What?
You don't stand for bullshit.
Correct.
You don't give it, you don't take it.
Yeah, I give plenty of bullshit.
Is that when you're playing? For sport.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Okay, so how do business communities evolve in the future? We've talked about curiosity, collaboration, taking risks. How do you see it evolving in New Zealand business?
Post the 1960s, it was a highly growth-focused, dynamic market, changing very rapidly from the post-war era. And inevitably, there was plenty of opportunity and there was plenty of money to be made, and it became a very competitive environment. Just did. As a result of that, everyone travelled a journey, and no matter how much we want equality of outcomes, sadly, we're not equal from the day we're born. Right? It's just the way it is.
Yep.
You ended up with quite a lot of divergent outcomes and a lot of pomposity, boasting, all of the bad things
So
we
the
know
rich,
and
the
see.
poor.
Yeah, all of that happened, right? And as a result, people focused very, very closely on self and close family. So it was all about self. Okay.
Yep.
As a result, competition accentuated. So that's the journey we've travelled. If you go back a few hundred years, it was quite different.
It was community building, wasn't it?
Largely.
It was, okay, you take care of the bank, you take care of the grocery store.
Right.
Building the village.
But in the transition zone, which you could think of Victorian England as, people were, because they had a similar industrial revolution, they realised that you couldn't trust anyone because everyone was out for themselves, okay? And because they couldn't trust anyone, they had to build old boys clubs, or old girls clubs now, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
They had to know people in order to deal with them.
That's fair enough.
Right? So people built close communities of compatriots that they could hunt and play with and trade with together.
Yeah, could have been a religion.
Could have been
could
a
have been
religion,
something to do
Northern
with
Club,
business.
could have been whatever it was going to be.
Yeah, okay.
So the importance of building communities, you don't build a large community until you've built smaller communities, right? So your first step is to build communities of like-minded people who can do shit together and collaborate and trust each other that the outcome will be fair.
Yes.
And those people then continue to do things with each other and they become collectively successful and they divide the spoils and it sort of works itself out. You then look at your journey through life doing that, which we at GS do, and I do, and you build a community, and you realise that the world's still a pretty dangerous place because most people don't play that way, and in short, you're breeding naive, vulnerable people that will become other people's prey.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
So the safety for your children and your compatriots is selecting people to enter your village well, nurturing them in your village. If they behave badly, throw them out of the village. Right? Inducting your children into the village because your village will be the opportunity for your future generations to be successful based on the communities you develop alongside them. And they will develop their own communities and they will be inducted in and progressively it grows. But it's not a one-generation game.
I was going to
from
say,
where
I
we've
love
come
it, but this
It's a
also
long
could
game.
sound like a cult as well. You've just become a cult leader, Bruce.
It's Gloria Vale, yes.
Yes. But I know where you're coming from because I've experienced your community. And you even tasked this podcast. The goal was to make business in New Zealand better. There wasn't an expectation of getting any business from it. It was to build better.
Correct.
So this is kind of your mission that you're on.
Correct.
And you are building it yourself in your own backyard first.
Correct.
How long has this backyard been evolving now? Is it the 40 years?
Look, when you start a journey, you sometimes don't know you've started it.
True.
Okay. You also often have no idea where you're going, and you don't even know why you're walking, right?
You're just moving.
You're just moving, right?
Yep.
Keep bloody walking.
Yep.
Okay. And you observe what you do, and you observe what works and doesn't work. You observe what you enjoy, and then progressively the fog clears, and you can see the hill you're heading for, right?
Yep.
So sometimes journeys start before you know it. They probably only become clear 2/3 of the way through. So it's probably been maybe 20 years.
Okay. And I would say that you've just been your authentic self through it, which is how you figured out that path.
Correct.
By doing what you enjoy with people you enjoy it with.
Yep.
Yep. And it's ended up in let's make New Zealand business better.
Well, let's build a cult. And the cult's really quite simple. Be yourself.
Yeah.
No one's going to impose on you their view of what you should be. You don't have to wear Amish fucking clothes.
Yep.
And you don't have to do silly handshakes. You just have to be you.
Well, you do that, Bruce.
Right.
You have your silly handshakes and you go topless around the office.
Yes. But you don't have to do it as well.
No, thankfully.
Nor do you.
I'm glad for that.
What's your catch line?
Stop it.
That's right. So you can be yourself, and we
Yep.
celebrate that we're all ourselves.
Yes, love it.
But all we actually need to try and cherish is what's our inner core of purpose. Why do we do what we do? How do we make other people great? How do we share with them? If they take our idea and run with it, celebrate it.
Yep.
If at some point they want to acknowledge that, great. If they don't, fine, that's on them.
Yeah.
If they end up being a perpetual taker rather than a giver to the community, you examine that, you pull them before the community council and say, look, you've taken 100 bright ideas from us and you've made a fortune, and all power to you. You've broken a few eggs, you've hurt a few people along the way, you haven't got the best from the community. Maybe you should be doing this on your own somewhere else. And you stop sharing.
Yeah.
You don't double down.
It's kind of a natural
on it.
thing, isn't it?
It's what people do.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have any last words, this being the last episode of the Boxes and Briefs podcast?
Is it the last one forever?
Wow.
Well, for this year anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. To be seen.
Last words. 2025's coming. It's
Yes.
a nice quarter of a century knocked off, or
Yeah.
the next one's starting. You've travelled the last quarter of a century, you're a quarter of a century older, you're a quarter of a century wiser.
Well, we are.
I was born in 2001, so nearly a quarter.
Okay, nearly.
Yes.
You've travelled a journey, Christmas is coming. Most people are thinking, oh my God, next year will be as bad as this year. It might be, it might not be. But take some time to reflect and enjoy your journey to date. Maybe while sitting under a tree somewhere on a beach, looking at the pohutukawas dropping their bloom, write down the things you've loved over your last 20 years
Yeah.
and say, I liked all that stuff. Why did I like it? Why did it give me joy? What's
Yeah.
the essence of what made me happy?
I think you've just unlocked the way to figure out your own purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you'll accelerate the journey to having a great life instead of mucking around for 40 years trying to
Trying
work
to
it
figure
out.
it out. Yeah. I love that. Thank you so much, Bruce.
Cool.
Yep. So to our Boxes and Briefs listeners, this is the last one. 52 episodes. Thank you to Bruce and the leadership team of Gilligan Sheppard for putting this out there. So please go backwards, find all of the other episodes. There's a multitude of guests and topics and all kinds of things for business owners. And we wish you all the best for the upcoming year. Thanks, Bruce.
Sorry, the upcoming next quarter of a century.
Next quarter of a century. That's it. Thank you.
Bye.
Cool.
Boxes and Briefs is proudly brought to you by Gilligan Sheppard, the problem solvers in business.